or repulsion sort of come together with evenness of mind, equanimity, and it's a very strong negative emotion, isn't it?
It is not negative in this case. That's the thing. It is actually, it's like when you see suffering very strongly, you feel, oh, I can't take it anymore. It's not a negative in the sense of having anything to do with ill will or anything like that. It's a feeling of, you just have to turn away from it. You can't see it anymore. It's a bit like when you see, for example, a suffering on TV, you talked about the other day, you just have to turn away. You can't deal with it. You don't feel angry about it necessarily. You don't feel upset. You just can't. You just see suffering in a very real way. It's a bit like that hot plate. You just pull back very quickly without any anger or negativity in the mind. It's a powerful turning away, powerful moving away from something. That's really all it is. Yeah. Okay. Anybody else like to ask anything, or have you all got your questions in here? Everybody happy? Yeah. Okay, great. So good. So let us then see the questions that you have in here. Okay. How to meditate to enhance the sixth sense? All meditation is about enhancing the sixth sense being the mind, right? So everything you do is really enhancing the sixth sense. As the body is falling away, as the other senses are falling away, you are left with the mind. And that being left with the mind, that is really enhancing that sense. And by contemplating, by watching the breath and all of these kind of things, you are building up that sixth sense, making it more joyful, making it more happy, making it more independent, and all these kind of things. So that's exactly what meditation is about, essentially. When it works. If it doesn't work, then you are not enhancing the sixth sense, right? If you're feeling tired and all those kind of things, then it's not so useful. How to meditate to brighten our aura? Okay, so... So your aura brightens as you meditate regardless. There are some people who say they can see an aura. Does everyone know what an aura is? You can see some kind of light around the person, right, or something like that. And they say that light, that kind of is around you, it is very much related to your mind state. So if you have much anger, it will have a bad color. If you have a lot of desire, it will have a kind of desire color. I'm not sure what that is, etc., etc. And if you are very pure, it will have a very pure color, like white or something like that. Yeah. So all you have to do is just practice this path, and it will happen automatically here, right? So there's. So why do you want to have such a nice aura? Are you afraid people are going to look at you and say, "Oh, bad aura"? It's like a beauty contest, having the most beautiful aura. So just practice the path in the right way, and the aura will take care of itself. You don't have to worry about that. The smile, that's right. The smiling already helps a little bit. That's exactly right. Number 3, what happens to people who do great harm and evil on us if they are non-Buddhist? For example, Christians, Muslims, or free thinkers. Yeah, those evil free thinkers. No, I'm being naughty. I think being a free thinker is quite good, actually, because people are often very open to things, and very often they are the kind of people who sometimes become Buddhists. So free thinking is good. But of course, if you do evil, it doesn't really matter very much what religion you are or what lack of religion you are. If you do evil, it's going to be bad for you regardless. What matters, remember, we're talking about kamma here. So what matters in kamma is that is your intention, right? So your intentions are the same, whether you are a Buddhist or an atheist or a Muslim or whatever. Intentions are roughly the same. And then it is the object that we do bad things towards also matters. So if you are a Muslim and you blow up an arahant, that's bad news for you as a Muslim. But if you are a Buddhist and you blow up an arahant, still bad news. Or if you're an atheist. So exactly where you're coming from doesn't matter so much. But of course, if you are a developed person, if you are a person who has a good heart already, and you have a lot of good qualities inside of you, then that bad karma will not be so bad. It will be counteracted by the good qualities inside of you. That's one of the things we saw the other day. The person with a small mind who is mean and miserable, if they do a small act of bad karma, it has tremendously bad effects for them. But the person who has a big mind, who has developed their mind to be like the river Ganges, right? Remember that? Then that person, even if they do the similar kind of bad act, nothing will really happen to them. So this is the way to really decide on bad karma, not whether you are one thing or another. That's really quite irrelevant. And this is the kind of the beautiful thing about the Buddhist teachings, that we don't kind of pick out the Buddhists as being somehow special. These are universal laws. They apply to everyone. This is one of the wonderful things that make me be a Buddhist, because it doesn't feel like we're saying, well, Buddhist, yeah, we are special, we are the chosen people, right? We will all go to heaven, everybody else goes to hell. It's a ridiculous way of looking at the world. It is, but when we look at the world in terms of natural laws, that is when I can that sort of religion, that sort of teaching is something that I can personally believe in. Otherwise, to me, it just looks like nonsense, to be honest. Okay. Okay. Is there God above Buddha? Okay. Is there God? That's probably, if you go to the Christians, they probably say that, or maybe some of the other people who believe in God, they might say these kind of things. I think the Hindus say that. The Hindus say that the Buddha is just a reincarnation of Vishnu or Shiva or something like that. Shiva, is it Shiva? Vishnu? Okay, one of those. Yeah. So, but the idea, remember, the Buddhist idea is that perfection in Buddhism is what we make out of our human existence. Buddhism doesn't talk about a God. Buddhism doesn't say that there is a God at all, in fact. And this is one of those big differences between the Buddhism and all other religions. One of the core insights of Buddhism is the idea of non-self. And what you see when you see non-self, you see that all conditioned phenomena are impermanent. They have no essence, they have no core. And when you realize that all phenomena are impermanent, there is no essence, there is no core, there can be no soul, right? No permanent core inside. And also, there can be no permanent God, because a permanent God is basically just a reflection of the idea of a permanent soul inside of us. So you have direct insight that the idea of a permanent creator God is impossible. This is one of the insights you can have as a Buddhist. And it's quite astonishing if you tell that to some of these other people, they think you are nuts if you say that. But this is actually part of the insight. And this is obviously very challenging for other people of other religions. When you go to places like Indonesia, you're not allowed to say this even in public. If you say it in public, it's like, oh, you have to be very careful, because they have this idea of harmony in society and everybody kind of believing in the same God, but you are Buddhist, and you cannot, there's certain things that you're not really allowed to say in the public sphere. In some ways, Indonesia is more tolerant than many other Muslim countries, because in some ways, Indonesia, everybody can come to the talks and these kind of things. But in some ways, there too, you have to be a little bit careful what you say. So this is Buddhism is very radical and very different from other teachings, and that is one of those kind of radical and very different things. Okay, second one. Are devas, deities, celestial and or terrestrial lower ranks than the Buddha and worship the Buddha? If they are wise, they worship the Buddha. If they are stupid, they don't worship the Buddha, right? And this is how it works. So the Buddha is the one who has the deepest insight into reality. If you are a deva, it just means that you have been moral, living well in the past. It doesn't mean that you have much insight necessarily into the nature of reality. So, yeah. Are they lower ranks than the Buddha? Remember, the Buddha doesn't really talk about rank as such. It's often we think about things in terms of ranks and things, but the Buddha kind of moves away from all that. There is no, better, superior, equal, or inferior. All of that is kind of taken out from Buddhism, because there is no real way of comparing again, because we're always changing. So there's nothing really that can be compared. What are specific ominous sounds of birds and evil planets, as mentioned in the protective recitations? What are the specific ominous sounds of birds and evil planets, as mentioned in the protective recitations? Which parita? Which parita is this? I'm not sure which parita you're talking about now, because there are a number of paritas, and some of them are from the Buddha and some of them are not. And the evil planets, I never heard of a parita about evil planets before. Or not sure what you mean by this one. So you would have to show me the Pali text, maybe I can figure out what it is. But I don't think the Buddha ever spoke about this. I think that it's probably some kind of later idea that arose in Buddhism at a later time. And I'm one of those people, I'm really mostly interested in what the Buddha taught, not so interested in what other people taught afterwards, because I don't know who those people are. And because I don't know who they are, I'm not so interested in what they were saying. That's my attitude. Anyway. Okay, so if you want to ask about that at some other time, please do so. Dear Ajahn, is not getting involved in someone else's problems or negative behavior considered not being compassionate, i.e. leaving the person to do what they want to do? Thank you. It depends. These things, there is no yes and no answer to these things. It depends on your ability to help. It depends on whether you think you can actually get anything done. It depends on the amount of energy you have to do these things. If you try to be too compassionate, you end up being just exhausted, because you can't be compassionate to everybody all the time. You lose your ability to be compassionate towards others. So it depends, and it depends on how close they are to you, how much responsibility you have. Of course, if you are a parent and you have a child who is kind of doing strange things, then of course you have a responsibility. And in that case, you should really be doing something. But in other cases where people are further away from you socially, then of course it is not necessarily your responsibility to do anything. If you can help and you can have a positive attitude and you feel that you have an excess of compassion and you want to be kind and help out, try. But one of the most important things when you try to be compassionate is not to be attached to the results. If you are attached to the results, if you're doing this because you want to make a difference or whatever, and then it turns out you cannot make a difference, then you have to be able to just let go without being disappointed. Right? Because often other people, we just can't change them. Other people are the way they are. They have their own karma, they have their own background. They are railroad going ahead. It's like a steam train at 200 miles an hour, full speed, and then you try to change them. You can't change that kind of person because they're going so fast in the wrong direction. But if that person is only going slowly in the wrong direction, does the momentum, the karma isn't so strong, then perhaps you can turn them around. So that is the ideal way. Help without being attached to the results. And then you're kind of, I think that is the wise way of doing it. But of course, we should always, to some extent, we should always try to help other people sometimes just with little things. Just saying a kind word here, saying a kind word there, doing an act of generosity here and there whenever we have a chance. That's a wonderful thing to do. And if you do that, the more you do that, of course, the more you are advancing on the path. So please don't underestimate the power of these things. Dear Ajahn, thank you for this most excellent sutta workshop. I am learning so much. I am asking the following question on behalf of somebody. The practice of the gradual path all the way to samadhi jhanas, does it always include psychic powers? If so, does this mean all arahants have these powers? Thank you very much. Sadhu times 3. No, it does not. And one of the examples I mentioned, I think, at the beginning of the treat is an example, or maybe it was I can't remember where I mentioned this. I mentioned it sometime. There's a sutta in the, I think, Samyutta Nikaya, where Mahamoggallana and Venerable Sariputta are sitting together, and this demon comes and whacks Venerable Sariputta over the head while he's sitting in meditation. Did I mention this before? Yeah. Okay, well there you are. So 8 days is a long time. I can't remember anything I said at the beginning anymore. Yeah. So he gives Venerable Sariputta sitting in some deep samadhi, and this demon comes and whacks him over the head. And then afterwards, Venerable Sariputta comes out of samadhi. Oh, I've got this little headache. What happened? And then Venerable Mahamoggallana says, oh, it is amazing, it is wonderful. This demon came and he gave you a blow on the head that was so strong, it would have killed a 7 cubit elephant on the spot if it had, if the elephant had been there. And all you say is that you have a little headache. And this is like the power of samadhi. It protects you from these kind of things. And then Venerable Sariputta says, wow, it is wonderful, it is marvelous that you can see these kind of creatures. I can't even see a mud goblin, let alone these other kind of powerful creatures. And this shows you, Venerable Sariputta, one of the greatest arahants of that time, he didn't have any of these psychic powers, right? The only psychic power that he had probably was the psychic power of making an end of the defilement, which is also a psychic power, and the psychic power probably of recalling his past life and understanding the laws of karma. These are also psychic powers in the sense that they are profound insights, so they also matter in this sense. But what the Buddha says, which is interesting, is that the real psychic power, the real power in Buddhism, is the power of instruction. The anusasana, patiharya. Patiharya means like miracle or wonder. The anusasana means instruction. So the miracle or the wonder of instruction, that, says the Buddha, is the real miracle in Buddhism. Why is that a miracle? Because the Buddha has awakened to a truth that is so out there, so different from what ordinary people can understand. Non-self, the ending of all existence and this kind of stuff, it really is kind of mind-blowing. So how can you expect other people to understand that? Right? And then the Buddha said, okay, let's try it out, let's check it out, let's give them the teaching and see what happens. And then he gives them the teaching, and then Venerable Kondanya understands. He's the first one who understands. In the Dhammacakkappavattana Sutta, at the end of that sutta, the Buddha says, wow, Kondanya understands, Kondanya understands. Anyasi vatabo Kondanya, Anyasi vatabo Kondanya. Right? And this to the Buddha is just astonishing. These profound teachings, I've been able to teach them in such a way that I've been able to transfer that insight from myself onto somebody else. This is the real miracle according to the Buddha's teachings. Other miracles, irrelevant. Other psychic powers, doesn't matter. The real one is the miracle of teaching. And I find that very inspiring. It's very practical. It's very kind of look at those things that really matter in life. Okay. Okay. Dear Bhante, I have a tendency to compare my practice on the Buddhist path with my fellow Buddhist friends, and sometimes I feel a bit down when I find myself doing less than them. How can I practice, or what can I reflect on to overcome this shortcoming of mine? What you should reflect on is that we are all different beings. We all have different qualities, different abilities in meditation, different abilities in being kind and compassionate. So because we have different qualities, you should never ever compare yourself with anyone else. There is only one comparison that matters, and that is the comparing yourself with what you are like this year compared to what you were like last year. Compare yourself to what you are now compared to what you were like 6 months ago. If you are improving on the path, if you're becoming more kind-hearted, more compassionate, more peaceful, more still, more mindful, if those things are going up, if the anger, the greed, the silliness, the confusion is going down, then you are on the right track. It's irrelevant what other people are doing. All that matters is that you are moving forward. It is possible that you compare yourself to somebody who is maybe kind of their practice is in some ways better than yours, but maybe they're going backward because maybe there's something else that they are doing wrong, right? So in a way you're comparing yourself in the wrong way, because if they are going backwards, it means they're actually not really succeeding, even though they may be at a higher level than you. Sometimes you see that. You see some people who get some very nice meditation experiences, and they never have those experiences again. They're kind of going backward, right? So if you are going forward, and then you are comparing yourself to a person who is not really succeeding, then that is also a silly way of comparison. So remember, it's about your practice. It's about whether you are making progress. That is the only thing that matters. For instance, I tend to be selfish and look for secluded places to practice and relax and not go to the temple to do dana or do service. That's okay, right? As long as it depends what you mean by selfish. Do you really feel selfish? Or is it more that you are kind of regarding yourself as selfish because it looks selfish from the outside? What is in your heart? That's what matters. If you go to a secluded place and you practice metta and you open your heart and you don't actually have selfish qualities inside of you, that is what matters. What are the qualities inside of you? Are they unselfish? That is what matters. It is not whether from some kind of external thing that you can measure yourself as selfish or not. It's all about your internal qualities. So what are you? Are you really selfish, or is it just some kind of external judgment that you're using there? This is what you need to look at. So if you really is the case that you are selfish, you think, I don't care about all those people, I'm just going to do my own thing, and everybody else in the world, well, what if they go to hell, I don't care about that. Of course, that kind of attitude is not going to get you anywhere, right? Then you have a real problem, of course. So that is the wrong kind of attitude. But if that is not your attitude and you have an open heart and a good heart, there is no problem there. Please show me how I can strike a balance between going to crowded temples and secluded Buddhist centers. Aversion. It's okay to have aversion to crowded Buddhist temples. I don't like that either, right? But I don't consider myself selfish either. I consider myself very willing to share with other people and to be kind, but if I have an opportunity, I'd also like to disappear quite quickly if I can. So it is both, right? These things do not actually go against each other. They go together. So when you are with other people, use the best to the best of your ability. Be kind, be caring, be supportive, do the right thing. And then when it's time for seclusion, you go into seclusion. If your meditation isn't going so well, then try harder to do good things when you are at the temple, when you are around other people, to do acts of kindness. You don't have to go to the temple. The temple is not kind of what really matters. What really matters on the path is that you do those things that actually lead forward in this world. And remember, one of the most important things is just hearing the Dhamma, right? Getting a regular input of Dhamma teachings is one of the basic things that will keep you doing the right thing and living in the right way. That is the most important thing, and that is what the temple really is about. The temple should be a place where you get good Dhamma teachings, and they lift you up and carry you forward. So sometimes you can get those teachings online, right? Or you can get them elsewhere. You don't always have to go to the temple to get these teachings. So, you find that balance for yourself. Remember what really matters. Kind heart, listening to the teachings to keep you on the right track. These are the most fundamental things. Sometimes go to the temple just to help out a little bit, to do a little kindness and generosity. Don't have to go there all that much. And then you find the right balance in life. You have to feel it out for yourself. There is no magic. One thing is right, one thing is wrong here. So you find out what actually works. Dear Bhante, can Bhante elaborate on the idea of making merit at dana or at temples and sharing of merits and blessings, and whether this sort of merit making is the same or different from the 10 meritorious deeds? Okay, so making the idea of making merit, there are so many, merit making really just means that you are doing something which is good karma. That's in the end what it means. You're doing an act of generosity, you're doing an act of kindness, you're treating people well. It comes back to your motivation. What is your motivation? And if your motivation is to be kind, your motivation is to support people, you're coming from metta, you're coming from compassion, then you are making merit. You can do that in the temple, you can do it at home, you can do it to ordinary people in life, you can do it in many situations. Of course, it is useful to sometimes do merit to Buddhist organizations, because from my point of view, Buddhist organizations are some of the few places that really uphold these beautiful teachings of the Buddha in the world. So it's good to help with that, right? It's good to help with organizations like the BGF who are supporting the Dhamma in the world. It's a wonderful thing to do that. But don't stop at that. Don't just do that. Any opportunity you have to do good act in this world is always really worthwhile. But look into your heart. Making merit is not about just giving food randomly and giving it with any kind of mind state. It's about trying to do this with the right kind of attitude. How can I support Buddhism in the world? How can I support other people? How can I be kind so that other people feel happiness when I am around them, right? Sometimes we just do things automatically because, okay, we are Buddhist, my job is to kind of give food to the monks. So you become like a robot. Give food, eat, boop, table, come back here. Right? And there's no feeling, there's no heart in it, there's no motivation in it. And when that happens, the merit also is reduced as a consequence. So try to remember what you're doing here. You're trying to support something beautiful and big. And when you remember that, then it is far more powerful. The 10 meritorious deeds, I'm not entirely sure what you're talking about there, so I can't really compare, not really sure what to relate it to. So anyway, is doing these meritorious deeds the same as making merit? I assume so. If there really are meritorious deeds, then that definitely is the same as making merit. But I'm not sure what it actually refers to, so a bit uncertain about that. What are the 10 meritorious deeds? Does anyone know about this 10 meritorious deeds? What this is referring to? I'm not sure what this is referring to. So. I see. Okay. The dasa Kusudama. Okay. So this is the standard set of 10 wholesome actions that you find in the suttas. Okay, I know what you're talking about now. And the significance in the path of awakening. These are very important because these dasa kusala kamapata, they call in the Pali language, this is a summary in the broadest sense of what is Buddhist wholesomeness, or what is Buddhist morality, if you like, or ethics. So if you can do those 10 acts, and you can use those almost as your entire practice, because everything is there. You have the 3 kinds of bodily conduct, the 4 kinds of speech, and the 3 kinds of mental conduct are included in that. If you can do all of that, wow, you have practicing incredibly well already. That's really, really powerful stuff. So please, yes, if you can do just that, you are going a long way on this path. And then when you meditate, whoa, your meditation is going to be so powerful as a consequence. The 10 meritorious actions, right? 3 actions of body, and not to kill any living beings, not to steal anything, no sexual misconduct. That is the 3 acts by body, 3 of speech, no lying, no malicious speech. 4, malicious, no harsh speech, no idle chatter, right? 4. We've been through all of this already during this. Maybe you were not here at the beginning. And then we have the 3 of conduct, which is no kind of covetousness, no kind of desire for the property of others, no strong sensual desires, what that refers to. No really harsh, negative thoughts. May these beings die, right? These are bad beings. That kind of stuff. And the last one is right view, the view that you have the view that there is such a thing as generosity in the world. There is the consequence of bad and good actions. There is mother and father, right? A very interesting part of right view. There are spontaneously arisen being. And the most powerful one, there are ascetics and Brahmins in the world who have seen that there is there is rebirth. Yeah, this is kind of really powerful as well. There are ascetics in the world who are rightly practiced, I think it says, but that is kind of the implication of that. So please, that is a very good point. Now I know exactly what you're talking about. So getting a bit tired, I think it's hard for me to get my head around these things a little bit. Yes, and the merit making at temples is in a sense part of that, because it's part of the act of generosity. It's the opposite of stealing, so it is in a sense comes under this as well. Okay. Great. So, last written question. Dear Bhante, my family members are not supportive of my Buddhist activities and would use the saying, charity begins at home, and I would feel a lack in me as if I don't love them enough or do more for them. Okay. How do I weigh my priorities on giving more time to my family or to the Buddhist activities? Well, this is kind of the good thing, is that if you really support your family in a good way, you are doing Buddhist activities, right? There is no difference here. There isn't really one or the other. So the most important thing is not so much where you do your good activities, but how you do those good activities again. So remember, the most important thing is just to get enough Dhamma discourses, listen to discourses, remind yourself of what is important in this world. The Kalyana Mitta thing, the one which is at the foundation of the very Buddhist path, that you need to get brainwashed, right? That's what the Buddha said. If you don't get brainwashed, there's no hope. You've had it. So brainwashing is important, but it has to be the right kind of brainwashing. So keep on brainwashing yourself. That is the most important thing. And then whether you practice that at home or you practice it at the Buddhist center is not so important. So probably I can imagine that you probably enjoy going to the Buddhist center. That's probably why you you get into this dilemma. But they have a point, right? In a way, charity does begin at home, and it is, of course, very important to look after one's family. So don't neglect that. And if you do that, if you do look after your family in a really good way, they will actually tend to become more supportive of your Buddhist activities. They might lend an ear, right, when you say, wow, Buddhism is the best. They might say, actually, don't say that at all. Just practice the Buddhism to the best of your ability, and that is when things tend to turn around and people start to listen to you. They see that you are doing what is well. So I think that there is something to be said for that. But again, everything is about balance. Please give some examples or principles on how to have a harmonious environment at home. Okay, so the only thing you can really do is to make sure that you practice that harmony, right? That you do your best to create harmony in the household life. You cannot really with other people, it is much more difficult because we can't really control them, as I said before. You can only do so much for other people. So create harmony by, just by being a good person and a kind person, and that tends to lead to harmony at the end of the day. Remember one of those beautiful sutras we had a look at before, that other people are conditioned into what they are. They don't do bad things because they want to be bad. I want to be bad, evil. Most people aren't like that. Most people do bad things and do silly things because of their conditioning, their past lives, their upbringing in this life, what have you. And they actually often want to be good, but something inside of them is blocking them from doing what is right and doing what is good. And this, I think, is so true for so many people. And when you do that, when you think about people like that, you can start to have compassion and understanding, even for the people who are closest to you. Perhaps it seems like they don't don't care enough for you. Perhaps it seems that they don't kind of allow you to go to the Buddhist temple enough. But remember, they are also just conditioned into what they are. We are all trapped by our personalities. We are all trapped by all the conditioning and habits that we have in this life. And the more you can turn your mind towards that and remember that, the more easy it is to deal with any kind of interpersonal relationship, whether it's in your family, whether it is at the BGF, wherever it is in the world, at work, right? Or dealing with the monks, even that one, wherever it is, it improves your ability at dealing with all of these things. And this is what I found in my own family, is how dramatic the difference can be between, when I first started out as a monk and my family said, we have failed in our upbringing, you're becoming a monk. That's what my father said, that I think we have failed in the upbringing. And I said, no, of course you haven't failed. If the very fact that I'm able to become a monk, the fact that I'm able to kind of make such a choice, which is so unusual, means you have succeeded. You have made me free, independent, right? You have succeeded in the upbringing. Anyway, so what happens is that in the beginning, because they don't understand, they are very negative and very anti. And then as time goes by and they see that things are going in the right way, that you're practicing rightly, you're treating them with kindness, you're becoming more wise, they see you in your environment, they see you. My father listens to my talk on YouTube now, right? So they look at the count, how many people have watched this talk? Whoa! And they look more. No, but that's the kind of thing that impresses parents, right? Because parents, they don't really fully understand the spiritual matters, but when they see, 40,000 people have listened to my son's talk, wow, that's really impressive. So that is the kind of thing that sometimes works a little bit. But generally speaking, is that after a while, your family members start to understand there's something very beautiful about these teachings. Right? And it takes a time before they realize you're not doing this just because you are rebelling or anything like that. You're doing it because you really feel that there's something powerful going on here, deep inside of you. And then they come around. And then I don't know if I said this here before, but I recently went to Africa. My parents wanted to take my whole family to Africa, my sister's 50th birthday and that kind of thing. And while we were in Africa, every morning we had a meditation session and a small Dhamma talk, right? My father came to me and said, can we have a small Dhamma talk and meditation session every morning? That's pretty unusual, isn't it? And this shows you, it goes from being the kind of black sheep of the family, right, to becoming the purest white sheep that is possible to be here. Whoa, the difference. And that is just because, basically, being very patient, not trying to convert anyone, just practicing in the right way. And as you do that over time, it has a very, very powerful effect. And I think most of you will see that. But you have to be very, very, very patient with the people around you here. Anyway, so that is my reply to that question here. So, anything else anybody would like to say here? Yeah, everybody happy? Everybody exhausted? Sorry? Very happy. Okay, great. Yeah. So I think maybe, as long as you enjoy the Dhamma, I think it's good desire, So quite likely, if I'm still alive, right? If you are still alive, we'll see what happens. Nobody knows. It depends on many things, but usually I'm very happy to be of service and help out if I can. So it depends on the schedule and all kind of things. I can't make any promises, but I can say I think there is a good chance. Yeah, so see what happens. Yeah. Okay. Any last minute queries, complaints? Anything like that? No, everybody okay? No complaints? Wow, that's really good. Very happy to see that. So I guess I will still. You're all going to come back tomorrow? Okay, at the back there. Okay, very good.
I've been coming in and out of your class.
Yeah.
But I've enjoyed whatever sessions that I have managed to sit in. And I have made an aspiration to watch through all your videos, yes, to learn more.
Yeah, okay.
Thank you so much for your
Good.
effort, for your time,
Yeah,
and for your metta.
great. Okay, sadhu, sadhu, sadhu. Very kind of you. Okay. Okay, so good. Yeah.